So you've done both state and Fed time, correct?
Yeah, I started going up into the state in the early '90s, and finally I finished doing my state time in 2012. I released from Chino. It was the last place I was at.
You graduated.
And then, yeah. So then I was basically like, I gave him my number back. I was done with it. And I was on the streets and I was running around banging that heroin and just going straight stupid mode. And I OD'd and everybody thought I died. So when they figured out I was alive at the hospital, they my mom told me to go out to Texas to start a new life. But I'm sure you heard the old cliche, and I don't subscribe to it, that people say if you move out of your area, you change your location, you go to a whole nother state, then you'll stay out of the bullshit. That's not really necessarily true.
Not if you
because you're gonna find all
Not if you
you're
take
gonna find
with
all,
you.
right.
Yeah.
You're gonna find all the same people. They're just gonna be different names, different faces, but the same personalities. And that's all I did. So I ran around in Amarillo, Texas for several months just on a sick one.
Yeah.
On a sick one, right? So I was on my way. I was like driving through Oklahoma and pulled off I-40 and walked into a bank in El Reno, Oklahoma, robbed the bank in there and got back on the freeway and went back to Texas. I was in Oklahoma for about 15 minutes.
All right. So obviously you got popped on that.
I got popped on that, not because of good, because they got my license plate or I left a hair fiber behind or anything. I got popped for my own stupidity. So I'm sitting in a motel room back in Amarillo, Texas, and I'm looking at the news feed to see what kind of evidence they had on me. And there was some chick that was in there with me. She was in the bathroom like doing a booty bump, right? And then like she comes out and she looks and she's like, "Is that you?" And I'm like, "Yeah, but don't say nothing." Well, apparently some way, somehow, word got out through the meth vine. I don't want to say the grapevine, but through the meth vine.
Right.
And next thing you know, I'm driving into the motel like earlier that morning, and I'm surrounded by FBI, Amarillo police, and all that shit. And I knew right off the bat when I seen an FBI vest, I knew that this is for the bank robbery, because who knows what it could have been.
Right.
So
right.
they took me in, and I just basically accepted responsibility. I said, "Yeah, you got me, whatever, shoot it, whatever the time it was." They're saying, "Well, shoot it, man. It's like 20 years. You're looking at 20 years. And I'm just like, no. I go, "You ain't going to scare me with that shit. I know the guidelines." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's like, "Oh, you familiarized yourself with the guidelines." And that made me even look more worse. Worse, Yeah. And there was even a moment where I was in the court and the prosecutor is like, "Well, did you know you were robbing a federal bank?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I did." And he goes, "How?" I said, "I saw the FDIC plaque on the bank and I knew it was federal."
Right.
So I knew I was in good shape,
Right. So yeah, if it's not FDIC insured, then it carries more time, correct?
If it's not FDIC insured and it's just like, I mean, I don't know. I think most of them are nowadays. Then it would be it'd be a state robbery. So I'd have went to the Oklahoma prison system for that.
Right. All right. So anyway, what'd you end up getting on that?
71 months.
71 months?
Yep.
Right.
So it was the high end of my guidelines. That was every last drop of my guidelines in category 5. Or category 5. I think it's category, 1, 2, 3, 4. Category 4. Category 5 was the highest one.
Right. So, I mean, 71 months, that'll hold you for a minute. You know what I mean? That's a couple of calendars right there, Well, that's 6 years and change, right? 7 years?
It's 1 month shy of 6 years. So
yeah.
Basically you could say 6 years.
Yeah. Okay.
Since it's like 5 years and 11 months, that's basically 6 years. In my eyes, your eyes, and in the eyes of anybody that's done time.
Right. So you get dumped in Oklahoma. You don't know anybody, but you got some family there, a family member or something, right?
Nobody.
Okay.
I had nobody here. I didn't know anybody. I didn't even know the state existed until I saw a sign that said "Welcome to Oklahoma."
Right. So you basically you get dumped out there by the feds, and now your life's shit, right? Are you in a halfway house or what's going on? So I like this is my favorite part of the story. You know, I mean, you sold me on this part yesterday. So you went to a halfway house for a minute?
I did.
Okay, so why don't you tell us what happened from there?
Okay, so prior to me getting out, well, a couple years before I got out, my mother revealed to me that she had cancer. And when
Sorry to hear that,
see
bro.
me and my mother, yeah, thank you. Me and my mother wrote a book together while I was inside. We wrote a poetry book together. We were basically writing poetic letters back and forth to each other.
That's cool.
The book's called Dear Mom, Dear Son. And the each poetic letter was, Dear Mom, love your son, you know, dear son, love your mom, in each letter. And we did this for several years. Well, she admitted to me in that poetic letter that she had cancer. So I called her. She said it's in her lung and her bone. And I knew I was never going to see her again. I just knew. You just know you're never going to see your mother again.
Nightmare.
So I sat there for about 4 or 5 months before my mom died, listening to her suffer and just disintegrate, like literally before my ears, because it wasn't before my eyes, because I couldn't see her. Before my ears, I had to listen to her just deteriorate. Finally, about 3 weeks before she died, she told me, she goes, I just wanted to let you know that for the first time in my entire life that I'm proud of my only son. And she told me, she said that I want you to make 2 promises for me. It's like, number 1, I want you to promise that you'll publish our book. Number 2, I want you to promise me that you'll become a criminal justice activist. She goes, I want you to get out there and help men stop breaking their heart the way you broke my heart all these years.
Ouch. Ouch. Yeah, bro, there's nothing worse than having a family member die when you're in there, you know?
Yeah, she died 3 weeks later, right? And then 6 months later, I was released. So she died 6 months before I got out. And because my family was pretty much done with me, I burned all my bridges with my family from all the fucking up that I did. So I tried to transfer to a place where I had a spiritual guide, a mentor. The federal probation said, no, we don't want you out in our district. You know, this guy's a gang member. He's a this, he's a that.
Yeah.
So basically said, you're going to Oklahoma. I've never been to Oklahoma. I've never lived here. I didn't know anybody here. And they literally just, like, they dropped me at the bus station in El Reno, Oklahoma. I mean, at the on Reno, not El Reno, on Reno Avenue in Oklahoma City with $38, some shower shoes, sweatpants, and a t-shirt in the middle of January, and basically said, go find the halfway house. I didn't have a phone. There was no pay phones anywhere because now everybody has a cell phone. So I'm trying to get a cab. I'm like 15 minutes away from being on escape. And I finally yelled out, can somebody please call me a cab? And some lady said, I called you a cab. They should be here. So this cab takes me to the halfway house. I showed up at the door, and like I'm asking them, like, oh, I suppose you guys are going to help me get on my feet. You know, I heard, you guys do workforce, and you got all these vouchers and all these this and that. And the 2 people that were behind the glass looked at each other and laughed. I said, okay, well, I guess so you guys are going to help me get my driver's license, right? You're going to give me a voucher? They looked at each other and laughed. I said, well, damn. I said, how am I going to get my driver's license? They said, well, you're going to have to pay for that yourself or have your family send some money. I go, yeah, I don't have any family. I said, all right, what about clothes? Can I go to the store and pick up some clothes? They laughed at me again. I said, well, what can I do? They said, well, we'll give you a pass to go to the tag agency to get your license. I go, what the hell is a tag agency? They go, tag agency, the tag agency. And I go, no, I don't know what that is. You mean the DMV? And they go, what the hell is a DMV? I said, where you get your driver's license? And they said, no, you get that at the tag agency. I'm like, well, whatever. Where is this tag agency? So they give me a pass. Now, mind you, I've never been in Oklahoma City and never lived there. So they give me a pass, and I said, which way do I go? They go east on Broadway. And I go, well, which direction is east? They're like, well, you'll figure it out. Right. So I used my Viking DNA to figure out navigation. And I just looked at which direction the sun was rising. I figured wherever the sun's rising, that's east. So I just started walking into the sunrise until I finally, I'm wandering around in some botanical garden. I'm like, does anybody know where a fucking tag agency is? And some guy pointed me in the right direction. Check this out. I get to the tag agency, and they said, they said, oh, you have a out-of-state driver's license? I said, yeah, from Texas. They said, oh, you got to go to the DPS office. So it was like the first time, and like I didn't have nobody helping me. It's like I didn't have a phone. I didn't have nothing. They had like a phone on the wall where you give like prospective employers to get a job. You give them the number to the office, and they're supposed to give you a message and tell you, hey, you got a job interview.
Right.
Well, they don't basically ever check that answering machine. I
So
found this out.
you're sitting there butt naked with nothing, bro. You got no money, no family, no nothing, and now you're not getting no help from the Department of Corrections. You know what I mean?
Nothing.
The only thing you're getting, it sounds to me like
The BOP.
yeah, oh yeah, my bad. You're with the feds.
Yeah.
So the only thing you're getting is a meal voucher and a fucking bed voucher, pretty much. It sounds like they were feeding you, bedding you, right?
Yeah, I mean they in the beginning. I walked in there, and now, mind you, I was in a cell. Even the medium facility at Florence, Colorado, was cells.
Yeah.
So they put me in this big old giant like dorm. There's like 15 people in there, and there's like radios blaring, and everybody's on their phones yelling. The lights are just wing bright down right on you, bumping into the bunks, slamming doors all night long. Right? I'm like, don't any of you people work? And they said, nah, man, we all lost our job from the Chesapeake Arena where the Oklahoma City Thunder plays for some bullshit. Somebody was doing something over there. So now nobody in this place had a job. Nobody was interested in getting a job. Everybody's just walking around, just straight on a sick one, on Suboxone, smoking spice, drinking, and like because they have all their family and their friends and some no self-esteem having woman they met off Plenty of Fish supporting them, and they don't have to do anything. I'm just like, I'm like, man, this is crunch time for me. I said, I don't have any time to sit around here and look at the fish pond, eat bologna sandwiches, and smoke spice. I got to get my shit together because I've never even been out here. So I beat that pavement every day. I had one pair of underwear, one pair of socks, and I had to wash them. Them mother Hummers every day, that underwear, until I was literally like washing holes into them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man.
I finally got a job. I finally got a job working at a hotel, working as a dishwasher. And I saved all my money and I sacrificed. And I got myself out of that halfway house after 3 months and got myself
like 25% of your pay.
They were taking it until I finally called the BOP and I started bitching, right? I said, look, I go, do you guys not understand?
Yeah, how am I going to get out of here?
I don't have anywhere to go. I don't have anything like that. I told them, I go, look, I'm trying to save to get an apartment. Can you cut me some slack? So they said, well, not until you actually have signed a lease on an apartment. So I had to literally went without. I'm watching all these dudes walking around with fresh Levi's and Jordans on and eating pizzas and steaks and all the barbecuing out there. You know what I mean? Barbecuing hamburgers and all that. Family running around and I didn't have nothing. Like I saved all my money and I found an apartment. And then this guy goes, yeah, you know what, you come over. I said, no, just go ahead and bring me the lease. I don't care what it looks like. He goes, well, I prefer you. I just come over and bring me the lease. I don't give a shit. As long as it got a door on it, running water, electricity, and I can put a phone in there for the home confinement, I'm good. So this guy came to the halfway house, you know, and he goes, well, I really want you to see it. So I talked him into letting me go look at it. He opened the door and he goes, so it's a one. I said, yeah, just give me the lease.
Yeah.
You know, I said, no, I don't want to look at it. I don't need to. I go, trust me, you've seen where I was before. This place is better than that any day of the week. This is freedom right here. This apartment. That place ain't freedom. That place it's a continuation of prison time.
Yeah, no respect on that.
Yeah, I got out of that halfway house. I had a blow-up mattress, that little orange cat you saw earlier. I rescued her from the halfway house. She was a little baby kitten, and she was lodged up under a shed after they had a flood, you know? And she was scrawny and skinny and dirty and nasty, and we got her out of there, and I cleaned her all up, cleaned out her ears were full of ear mites, and she had worms, and she was sick. And I was nursing her with a bottle. And when I was in home confinement, because, you know, I can't go out and run around, you know, when I'm not working, I have to be in the house. So when I have 3 days off from my job, I'm sitting in that house for 3 days with nothing to do but to play with this cat. The cat was the only thing that kept me sane.
For sure. You know, thank God for pets. You know, it's very respectable that you did. I'm sorry?
he became like my child, you know?
For sure, for sure. I had a very similar thing too with my dog, but I mean, it was very commendable that you fucking looked at your environment and you fucking turned I can't into I can. Dropping that T is huge. You know what I mean? Because you could have just been stuck in the rut, sitting there for however long, like all these other people. That had no motivation. They had an old lady with no self-esteem, plenty of fish. I mean, that's all true shit, bro. And
Yeah.
it's very commendable that you fucking went out and got any job. Who gives a shit, right? It's a paycheck. You got yourself out of there. And I know you're moving on to bigger and better things now. You have some other shit lined up too,
Yeah,
right?
that's not even the half of it, man. That's only the tip of the iceberg.
Right.
So here's the deal. So like I stayed in that apartment. I got moved out of I was out of from being a dishwasher, and I got made a line cook or a line chef, as you will, in this hotel restaurant. And I worked there for 2.5 years. Now I've recently resigned from there, and I'm moving into a distribution company. I'd rather not say which one, but for safety reasons and everything. But moved into a distribution company, and I'm making like 40K a year. And out here in Oklahoma, that's like 95, almost 100K a year in California, because gas is cheap out here, cost of living's cheap out here, everything's cheaper out here. So it's like, for me, I now have a future. I live in a 3-bedroom house, and my 22-year-old niece, my oldest sister's kid, came out here last year with nothing but the shirt on her back, wanting to start her life, and I got her a job in the hotel. She's picked up her life. Now she's working in a place. She's going to school to get her diploma, and she's looking to basically have a career in a pretty big company once she gets that diploma, you know. And this is coming from my family that didn't want nothing to do with me, and now they trust. My own sisters trust me with their kids. Now it's my own family, like, comes and asks me for help, financial help. They'll come and ask me for advice, you know.
That rocks,
Before it
bro.
was like that.
It sounds like the gods dropped you in a spot you would have never gone on your own, and everything is just sort of unfolding perfectly. You know what I mean? I could tell you, I wouldn't just fucking move to Oklahoma. You know what I mean? So, and
Yeah,
you
I've been to come here, but I made the best of a bad situation. I knew that I was considered to be 99.9% likely to recidivate within the first few months of release. Now, that's not the first few months of release out of halfway. That's the first few months of release into the halfway.
right.
Like something like 80 something likely to relapse on narcotics within 30 days, all that shit, likely to jump the fence and escape, all that stuff. I mean, there's really no wall there. There's no fence. Like, you could just walk right out the door and leave, you know?
Yeah, and you're from
So,
LA, so
yeah.
you're accustomed to living a life that's always busy, always, crazy, fucking